everyone, it's Haley, and today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review for Blue Lily, Lily Blue by Maggie Stiefvater. So this book is the third book in the Raven Cycle Quartet, so this review will be entirely spoiler-free as long as you have read the other two books, the Raven Boys, which is the first one, and then the Dream Thieves, which is the second one. You don't have to have read this book for it to be spoiler-free. I'm not really spoiling too much for the other two books, I don't think, but if you don't want to risk it, then just don't watch the video. That would just be your safest bet, but I'm not going to be spoiling this one, just the other two a little bit, since this is the book that comes after, if that makes sense. I never know how to explain this. Let's just get into it. So it's kind of hard to give a summary for this book since it is so far into the series, but it basically follows from the next book. It has the four schoolboys, the Aglenby schoolboys, who each have their own distinct personality. They're really well fleshed out, and they are best friends with Blue, who is the non-psychic daughter of a psychic, and she lives in a family of psychics, and she gets caught up in the world of the Raven Boys, who have been on this quest for forever to find this long-lost Welsh king in the Virginia mountains. It just is their quest and how it's progressing, and it follows that whole thing, and the whole thing where Blue is, if she kisses her true love, then he'll die. There are many plots going on in this book, and they all kind of weave together to make a beautiful, intricate story. I love Maggie Stiefvater's writing. I think it's just really effortless and captivating. She really just handpicks the words that she uses, and because of that, you learn so many new words while reading these books. I love that about it because you don't see the same words. She really thinks about it, and she thinks about the best word to describe what she's trying to say, and you can really see the care that went into crafting the story. And this series is also written so each book has its own story arc, it has its own separate story arc, but it also is able to exist in the greater story arc of the whole series. So there's lots of plots going on in this series, but like I said, they really all kind of come together to make a really amazing and fabulous story in the end. I think the characters are where the writing really shines. She is able to create such realistic characters. They're not really realistic, but I think they're so fleshed out that they really just kind of come to life off the pages. And you get to see them progress through this journey. You get to see their character development, and the character development in this story is absolutely flawless. It's great, and I love just getting to know these characters. You get to know something new about them in each book, and it makes them kind of become this complete person that you feel like you could really know in real life. In this book, you got to see a really different side of Blue. You got to see more of an emotional side to her because you saw her kind of confronting the problems that she'd been brushing aside for the entirety of the series before this book, and as well as other things that happen, you get to see more of an emotional side to her that I feel like you didn't get in the other books. She becomes this really emotionally poignant character, and it was really great to see her develop with these really kind of tactile emotions, I guess. A similar thing happened with Gansey because he had been brushing aside similar things, but now he's kind of coming to terms with it, and you saw him struggle with the fact that the search for Glendower is almost over, so you saw his anxieties about what comes after that. I mean, this has consumed his whole life for years and years, so now after that's done, what is he gonna do? He kind of came to terms, started thinking about the same things that I think the reader is thinking about. I know I was thinking about, like, what is he gonna do after he finds Glendower? Like, how is he going to move on with his life when this has been all he's been living and breathing, Glendower? So I think seeing him kind of thinking about these same things kind of showed a hole in his knight's armor, because he really has put himself up as this really honorable, protecting character, but you kind of got to see that he's really not all that sure of himself, really in the end. Ronan, on the other hand, kind of faded into the background a little bit in this book, which was odd because he was really the central focus of the Dream Thieves, the previous book, and I was kind of disappointed that he faded a little bit, but I do think that he's gonna come back in the fourth one. like he will be more of a prominent character. I just think this book had to focus more on the relationship between Blue and Gansey and how that was going to end. Adam also kind of faded into the background along with Ronan. I think that Adam is the character that I have the most trouble connecting with, because I feel like he's the one who has kind of stayed stagnant while the rest of the characters are really developing, and I would like to see a little bit more development from him. Rather than kind of being the hurt puppy dog all the time, I'd kind of like to see him rise above that. Noah was dealt with quite a bit in this book, which I think was great because there's a lot of questions surrounding him, and the characters started to ask those same questions surrounding his existence and what that meant, and I mean, if he could exist forever, because I mean, he technically should not be existing, and you see them, the anxieties about that coming up as well and what will happen to him, and his story is so heartbreaking to me because I think he just seems like the sweetest boy, and I really enjoy his character, and I just think there's no way that it can end well. So like I kind of mentioned, the plot of this book really focused on character development and kind of bringing up these anxieties that had been brewing throughout the rest of the series, and I think it really set up for the next book well, but it didn't really act as a bridge book, because I find that sometimes in longer series there are books that kind of just act as a setup for the next one, and while this one did set up for the conclusion of the series, it can exist as its own entity as well. I think that this book's ability to stand on its own as well as exist in this greater system of the stories is really where the strength of this series comes, because there are so many things going on in it, but it never really gets overwhelming. It's always engaging, fast-paced, witty. It's just everything that you want from a book, and it's just... I think this book also focused on building up the suspense for the last one. It did that really well, especially in the end. I think that the conclusion to this book was great. It was a great cliffhanger to lead to the Raven King. I don't know how people had waited for the Raven King for like a year, because I had to wait to read this book until like right before the Raven King came out, because I just could not wait. I couldn't have done that. Aside from just developing individually, the characters also developed a really strong relationship in this book. You can always, in the previous books, you could always see that they had a really strong friendship, but I think in this book it developed to more of a family relationship. They each have something that kind of defines them, and they all came together with that thing and were able to combine it and use it together to do something really great. I think that seeing them come together in this way was honestly just so heartwarming, because I wanted them to do that the whole time, and I just think seeing their relationship go to this next level was just really great, and I'm really... Now, apart from individual development, the characters also developed a really interesting relationship in this book. They each have their own kind of unique thing that defines them, and I think in this book they were really able to come together with those things and help each other and help other people as well, and I think their relationship really developed because of that. You could always see that they had a strong friendship, but I think in this book it became a strong like family relationship. So overall, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I just think that Maggie Stiefvater is such a talented crafter of stories. This just feels like the kind of story that, the whole series feels like the kind of stories that you would sit around a campfire and hear. And I think that this book really provided the perfect segue for the dreaded but highly anticipated conclusion to the series. So that's going to be all for today's review. Let me know if you have read this book, your thoughts on it, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!